I still remember the day I graduated from college like it was yesterday. Armed with my shiny new degree in civil engineering, I felt like I could take on the world. Little did I know that the world had other plans for me, plans that involved a Czech beauty who would turn my life upside down. Landing a job at that fancy construction engineering firm was like hitting the jackpot. The place was a far cry from the dingy construction sites I'd interned at during college. Sleek glass walls, ergonomic furniture, and a break room that looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. But all of that paled in comparison to Emily. The first time I saw her, I swear time stood still. She was talking to a group of coworkers, her long dark hair cascading over her shoulders, and when she laughed, it was like music. I remember thinking, damn, I'm in trouble. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I became friends. We'd chat by the coffee machine, swap stories about our college days, and occasionally grab lunch together. But with each interaction, I felt myself falling harder. Her quick wit, her passion for design, and that hint of an accent when she got excited, it was intoxicating. I tried to keep it professional, I really did. But there were nights when I'd lie awake, imagining what it would be like to run my fingers through her hair, to feel her lips on mine. It was torture, but the good kind. Then came that fateful night at the bar. A bunch of us had decided to go out for drinks after a particularly grueling project. Emily was there, looking stunning in a little black dress that made it hard for me to focus on anything else. As the night wore on and the drinks flowed, I felt a surge of liquid courage. "Hey Emily," I said, my heart pounding. "I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go out sometime. Just the two of us." Her smile faltered for a moment, and I knew before she even spoke what her answer would be. "Oh, Alex," she said, her voice soft. "You're such a great guy, but I think we're better as friends. I hope you understand." I nodded, trying to hide my disappointment. "Of course, no problem. Just thought I'd ask." To her credit, Emily didn't make it awkward. We carried on as if nothing had happened, and over time, our friendship actually grew stronger. We'd text each other random memes during the day, and sometimes grab a coffee after work. I managed to keep my feelings in check, telling myself that having her as a friend was better than not having her in my life at all. But then things started to change. Emily began to tease me about that night at the bar. At first, it was just playful jabs. "Hey Alex, remember when you tried to wine and dine me?" she'd say with a wink. I'd laugh it off, playing along. As time went on, though, her comments took on a more flirtatious tone. We'd be working late one night, and she'd lean in close, her perfume making my head spin. "I bet you wish you were taking me out tonight instead of these blueprints." "Huh," she'd whisper, her breath hot on my ear. It was maddening. One moment she'd be all business, discussing load-bearing walls and zoning regulations. The next, she'd be giving me these looks that made my imagination run wild. I couldn't figure out if she was genuinely interested, or if she just enjoyed the power she had over me. Either way, I was putty in her hands. Every smile, every accidental brush of her hand against mine set my heart racing. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't help myself. The more she teased, the more I wanted her. Our coworkers started to notice. I'd catch them exchanging knowing glances when Emily and I would banter back and forth, but nobody said anything outright. After all, we weren't actually doing anything wrong. We were just friends, right? Wrong. With each passing day, my feelings for Emily grew more complicated. I couldn't help but feel a twinge of unease as I watched the new guy walk into our office. Eric, our latest addition from Iceland, looked like he'd stepped straight out of a fitness magazine. Tall, muscular, with perfect blonde hair and a jawline that could cut glass. I tried not to stare, but it was hard not to notice how every head turned as he passed by. Emily's reaction was instant and obvious. Her eyes lit up, and she practically bounced over to introduce herself. I felt my stomach drop as I watched them shake hands, Emily's smile wider than I'd ever seen it. "Holy shit. Alex," she whispered to me later, her voice giddy with excitement. "Did you see Eric? He's like Thor's hotter brother or something." I forced a laugh, hoping it didn't sound as hollow as it felt. "Yeah, he's something all right." As the weeks went by, it became increasingly clear that Eric wasn't just a fleeting fascination for Emily. She found every excuse to talk about him, cornering me at the coffee machine or during lunch breaks. Eric was telling me about this amazing hike he did in Iceland. She'd gush, her eyes sparkling. Can you imagine the views? God, I'd love to visit someday. Each time, I'd nod and smile, all while feeling like I was slowly disappearing. The worst part was, I couldn't even hate the guy. Eric was genuinely nice, always including me in conversations and asking for my input on projects. But every time I saw him and Emily together, laughing over some inside joke or huddled close over a computer screen, it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. The office gossip mill went into overdrive. I'd catch snippets of conversations in the break room or by the printer. Did you see Emily and Eric at the meeting yesterday? The sexual tension was insane. I bet they're already hooking up. No way two people that hot aren't all over each other. I wanted to block it all out, but it was impossible. The worst was when Emily herself would come to me, eyes shining, to share the latest development in her Eric obsession. Alex, you won't believe what Eric said today she'd start, and I'd brace myself for another round of torment. He invited me to go rock climbing this weekend. Can you imagine those arms in action? I mumbled something about how great that sounded, all while picturing Eric's stupid perfect arms wrapped around Emily. The image made me want to punch a wall. One afternoon, I was finishing up some calculations when I heard Emily's laughter floating across the office. I looked up to see her perched on the edge of Eric's desk, head thrown back as she giggled at something he'd said. Her hand rested casually on his arm, and the intimacy of the gesture made my chest ache. Eric glanced up and caught my eye, giving me a friendly wave. I returned it half-heartedly, then quickly looked back at my screen, pretending to be engrossed in work. Earth to Emily's voice suddenly cut through my brooding. I looked up to find her standing by my desk, an amused expression on her face. Geez, you were really zoned out there. Eric and I are grabbing drinks after work. Want to join? For a split second, I considered saying yes. Maybe if I spent more time with them, I'd see they weren't as perfect together as everyone seemed to think. But the thought of watching them flirt all night was more than I could bear. Thanks, but I've got a ton of work to finish up, I lied, gesturing vaguely at my computer. You guys have fun, though. Emily's face fell slightly, but she quickly recovered. All right, workaholic. Don't stay too late. As she walked away, I caught a whiff of her perfume, the same scent that used to make my heart race. Now it just reminded me of everything I couldn't have. I watched as she rejoined Eric, the two of them heading out together, laughing and chatting animatedly. The office suddenly felt emptier, quieter. I slumped back in my chair, running a hand through my hair in frustration. How had things changed so quickly? It seemed like just yesterday Emily and I were the ones sharing inside jokes and grabbing after work drinks. Now I was on the outside looking in, watching as she slipped further and further away. A few days later, needing some extra supplies, I found myself walking down the dimly lit hallway towards the rarely used back office. The air felt thick with the late evening calm, most of my colleagues having already headed home. The dim lights barely offered enough glow to see the doors lining the hall. A faint sound tickled at my ears, a mix of muffled rustles and soft moans. I shook my head, dismissing it as my imagination. The echo from the hallway often played tricks on me. But as I reached the door and pushed it open, the full scene hit me like a punch to the gut. There, Eric and Emily, entwined in a dance I could hardly process. Eric bent over the desk while Emily pushed against him. My mouth went dry, my thoughts scattering. What the fuck, I muttered, backing out quickly, my heart pounding in my chest. Back at my desk, I couldn't focus. The image of them together, raw and intense, seared into my mind. Despite the overwhelming wave of jealousy, another feeling crept up, an arousal that left me uneasy. That night, in the privacy of my bedroom, the memory played on repeat. Unable to resist, I found myself gripped by a twisted excitement. I ended up pleasuring myself to those forbidden images, shame mixing with a strange thrill. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a message from Emily, her desperation practically leaping from the screen. Alex, please don't tell anyone about what you saw. Her vulnerability felt like an electric charge. Sensing an opportunity, I replied, "What do you think you can do to make me not care about what I saw?" I didn't know what to expect, but her response opened a door I hadn't anticipated. Emily's next message came quick, a playful edge lacing her words. "Maybe I can share more of our secrets. if that's what excites you. Her words sparked a new kind of excitement, the boundaries of our professional relationship blurring faster than I could control. Throughout the day, my interactions with Emily took on a charged tone. During lunch, she leaned in close, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper. "I saw the way you looked at us, Alex. I know it turned you on." My cheeks burned, but I managed to hold her gaze. "Yeah, it did. I can't even lie about that." Her grin widened, a mix of tease and promise in her eyes. "Maybe I'll tell you more about our encounters with explicit details." Each word she spoke sent my thoughts spiraling, the combination of jealousy and arousal creating a swirl of emotions I could hardly contain. That evening, her message came in, just before bed. "I'll tell you everything, if you promise to keep our secret." I could almost hear her playful, bratty tone through the words on my screen. I typed back quickly, eager and out of control. "You have my word. Tell me everything." And so it began. Our conversations grew risk, Emily describing moments with Eric in vivid detail, her words taunting and teasing me to the edge. She knew exactly what she was doing, and I couldn't resist the allure. Each night, her stories pushed my boundaries, blending my jealousy. One afternoon, as we crossed paths near the break room, Emily brushed past me. Her whisper was a breath against my ear. "Last night, Eric and I tried something new. Want to hear about it later?" The tension between us was palpable, a connection neither of us had anticipated. Again and again, Emily's descriptions filled my mind, her bratty, teasing attitude only heightening the desire and frustration. I nodded, barely able to contain my anticipation. "Yes, I want to hear it all." Her laugh was soft, intimate. "Can't wait then." The complex and dynamic wrapped tighter around me, each encounter deepening a connection I hadn't expected. A twisted game of attraction, jealousy, and arousal spun between us, far removed from the professional rapport we were supposed to maintain. This new reality, a secret world shared with Emily, turned my perspective upside down and left me craving more of our illicit exchange. I know that. One day I will take Eric's place.